Elisa's live shot there from Lower Manhattan, because as we told you, Governor Christie is expected to update us on the situation in New Jersey. Let's listen in now.
I want to make a few updates since this morning, but I also want to talk a little bit about what I was able to see after surveying the damage on the Jersey Shore this afternoon. Let me start with, I just never thought I would see what I saw today, ever. We started in Belmar, and I think the only one of you I remember for sure was there was Michael, I think, when I walked on the boardwalk in Belmar this summer. It's gone. It's not there. The boardwalk we walked on together this summer, greeting residents, talking to those business owners, it's gone. And it's gone 2 or 3 blocks up off the beach down those side streets. If you look down the side streets, all you see is sand and water and remnants of the boardwalk up those streets. There's a few boards left here and there. The portable bathrooms that were there were knocked sideways onto the beach off of where they were put onto. And all the homes that are right in that area sustained significant damage, structural and from wind and from water. I have met some folks there that obviously now have no place to live at the moment and are extraordinarily emotional. And what they wanted more than anything else was just, you know, to see me and to get a hug. I had 3 different older women come up to me and say, I just wanted to be here to give you a hug and say thank you. I said, I don't know what you're thanking me for, but I'd be happy to give you a hug. And I did, and a lot of tears in that group in Belmar. I was there with the mayor, good guy, strong guy. Met a water rescue team, all volunteers, who are using jet skis and small boats to go and continue to rescue people from Belmar who hadn't heeded the mayor's evacuation order. I met these guys, they're in wetsuits and they're all volunteers, and all they wanted was a picture. I said, you know, if we just have a picture with you, Governor, that would be great, then we're going to get back to work. Pretty extraordinary New Jerseyans and guys who are doing this not because it's their living, but because they care about their neighbors and want to make sure that everybody was safe. One of the guys told me that they rescued a 85-year-old woman on a jet ski. Jet skied up to her house. She was petrified. They loaded her onto the back of the jet ski and rowed her to safety. And these are pretty extraordinary guys. We then got back up into the helicopter and flew to the Jersey Shore of my youth, where we used to go all the time, to the boardwalk at Seaside Heights, and it is gone. The pier with the rides, where I took my kids this August before the Republican convention, where I got in that famous yelling match with the guy with my ice cream cone. Those rides are in the Atlantic Ocean. The log flume's in the Atlantic Ocean. The log flume that my 2 younger kids rode this summer is in the Atlantic Ocean. The roller coaster that all of them rode on this summer it almost looks like the pier came out from underneath it and it just fell onto the ocean floor and stayed almost fully constructed. The stand in the middle of the boardwalk that sells sausage and peppers and lemonade is gone. Unlike the others where they're pushed farther back from the boardwalk, this one sat right in the middle of the boardwalk. It was unusual on that boardwalk. I remember it very well. And I looked for it today. And the entire structure is gone. We rode over Lavalette and Ortley Beach. There are homes moved off of their foundations into the middle of Route 35. It's a site of devastation that makes it look like as if there had been a bombing there. And what you realize is the power of this storm surge. Because it wasn't the rain, it wasn't the water here from the rain. It was the wind and the storm surge from the ocean that did the damage that it did here. The other thing you notice most particularly is the incredible erosion of the beach. You know, the beach area in front of the governor's residence at Island Beach State Park is an extraordinarily wide piece of beach in New Jersey, or it was. I mean, it's not anymore. The water is coming just about up to the dunes that protect the home, and I'm sure that water went well over those dunes, and the home looked like it's been damaged as well, although we're going by at a pretty good clip, so I just got to take a quick look at it, but looks like it was damaged as well. But what I do know is that the big wide beach that we were on this summer with our family and friends before the Republican convention, where we went to relax that week before, is gone. And you see that all up and down Long Beach Island. Long Beach Island, there may be a couple of towns that I noticed were not as badly damaged. The first one that I noticed with some specificity that was really badly damaged was Brant Beach. Water up and down the roads there. And there were parts of Long Beach Island where it was clear that the bay had met the ocean. And the difficulty was watching on the bay side of it. On the bay side, it looked like the bayside homes on Long Beach Island may have gotten actually worse than the beachside homes, because the bay really came up and over. The storm surge really moved it. We then went down to further south. I was actually pleasantly surprised with the way Atlantic City looked. It looked better than I expected it would. I saw a lot of the water had already drained out of the city, so that's a positive for Atlantic City. And when you get down to Cape May, you saw the boardwalk in Ocean City was significantly damaged, as were many of the roads and towns there, or homes there. But we went down to Avalon where we landed, and Avalon really bore up quite well from the storm. I had time to speak to Mayor Marty Palugi down there, Mayor of Avalon, and he said they're counting their blessings. They did really well in Avalon. Sea Isle City, I saw Mayor Len Desiderio, not nearly as well. So it varied from town to town, and one of the things that I'm going to talk to the President about tomorrow is getting the Army Corps of Engineers in here as quickly as possible for us to begin the planning of the rebuilding of the beach. And what's the best way to do that to try to protect the beach and the towns that lie right next to these beaches. So that'll be one of the things I'll talk to the President about tomorrow. So it was an overwhelming afternoon for me emotionally as a kid who was born and raised in this state and who spent a lot of time over my life, both my childhood and my adult life at the Jersey Shore. We'll rebuild it. No question in my mind, we'll rebuild it. But for those of us who are my age, it won't be the same. It'll be different because many of the iconic things that made it what it was are now gone and washed into the ocean. So where are we now? The good news, in the face of the extreme devastation that's taken place all along the shore, is that our rescue efforts have largely been positive, and the loss of life due to Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey has fortunately been minimal. We now have 6 confirmed deaths in New Jersey, in addition to the 2 in Mendham Township, Morris County, and the 1 in Atlantic City. We now have 1 man who died in Jefferson Township, Morris County, a tree crashing into his home. A man from Princeton in Mercer County, a tree into his yard, where he was in the backyard, and killed him. And a man in Hawthorne, a tree fell into his house and killed him as well. So we have 6 now confirmed deaths per the information I'm getting from Dr. Mitchell, the state medical examiner. But we're still seeing also the impact of tidal flooding in Moonachie, in Sayreville, in Little Ferry, in Jersey City, and in the Newark Bay area. Many of those areas are still underwater. In Moonachie and Little Ferry, we've rescued approximately 1,000 residents today as a result of the state and federally supported teams we dispatched this morning from those rescues. It turns out that we've only needed to shelter about 300 of the people we've rescued. The rest were able to be sheltered with family and friends. It's my hope to be able to get on the ground to see the damage in the next couple of days in Moonachie and Little Ferry and Sayreville. We'll be doing some traveling tomorrow and the next day. We continue to assess our sheltering needs. The number of New Jerseyans in shelters is down slightly from this morning. We have approximately 4,500 residents in state and local shelters as the latest count. As a result of the power issues, our shelter needs are changing, which is why we're in close contact with each of the counties, being responsive for their needs for food, water, and cots. 4 federal disaster medical assistance teams with more than 100 staffers are aiding our staffed state shelters. 2 teams have arrived and 2 teams are on their way. The County Medical Reserve Corps is also activated and is assisting at our shelters for any of the medical needs of the folks who are there. To say the least, there are still many New Jerseyans without power, which at times makes me wonder who I'm talking to here beside all of you. Probably a lot of people from out of state. But for those of you in state who still have power or have transistor radios and are listening in that way, here's the update. We now have 2.6 million New Jerseyans without power. And that's 2.6 million New Jersey customers. So that's households. PSE&G comes in at 1.47 million outages. JCP&L at just a shade under 1 million. Atlantic City Electric is 179,000. And Orange and Rockland is 49,000. The good news is that Newark Airport is back. Parts of Newark are back up with power. And JCP&L has reported that they have 90% of their transmission system up and running, which is good news. And from my conversations with President Obama and the call he held today with other Northeastern governors and mayors, he has said restoring electricity is also his #1 priority, and that'll be good news as well for those of us who are trying to restore it in our own states. Garden State Parkway, as I told you earlier, is open. And for those of you who were enjoying it earlier, tolls have now been reinstated. So the party's over there. We will reinstate tolls for the New Jersey Turnpike at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And that entire roadway is now open with the exception of exit 15W. The exit ramp at 15W for Interstate 280 has been washed away, and we need to deal with that with our engineering crew. The Atlantic City Expressway is closed eastbound only east of exit 5, and toll collection has resumed on the Atlantic City Expressway. Department of Transportation has logged 394 incidents in connection with the storm. 239 of them have been resolved. 155 of them are ongoing incidents. The main causes of these travel lane closures are flooding, downed trees, and downed poles or wires. And so we have DOT crews out there clearing those things up on state roads, and hopefully we'll put a dent in those 155 by the time I talk to all of you again tomorrow. We have approximately, this is an interesting statistic. This is another one of those things that will get inside my head, and I'll never forget it. And it will crowd out something that's significantly more important than this. But here you go. Since it's been done to me, I'm going to do it all to you. Did you know that we have approximately 15,500 traffic signals statewide? So for those of you who play New Jersey Trivial Pursuit, you will definitely have this one over your friends. 15,500 traffic signals statewide. Now, the serious part of this, of course, is that with power outages, that creates a really dangerous situation. If those intersections are not being, governed by traffic signals, they can be difficult. So if people start to drive tomorrow, I would ask them please to proceed with caution at these intersections where lights are out if they're not manned by law enforcement officers. We all need to drive with care during this period of time until everything is back up and running again. And Heather, that would be how many traffic signals? 15,500. Yeah, very good. I knew we could count on the Wall Street Journal to get the numbers right. New Jersey Transit and Light Rail remains suspended. As I said this morning, it's going to take some time for this system to become fully operational. The only bus service that will be operational tomorrow is in Camden, and it will run on a Saturday schedule. Regarding our drinking water, 3 drinking water systems have issued now boiled water advisories. The Atlantic City MUA, which serves 37,000 people plus hotels and visitors. the New Brunswick Water Department, which serves 350,000 people, and the Independence Municipal Utility Authority, Highland System in Warren County, which serves 350 people. So I'd ask everybody who's in other systems to please make sure you preserve your water. Let's not be outside cleaning up your patio with a hose or any of those type of things. That water should be used for drinking water and food preparation now, and not for other things. Until we get all the power back on, you know, it's tough to keep all these water systems online. So I'd ask everybody to try to preserve as much water as you can. In terms of our health care facilities, 2 hospitals have been evacuated. Hoboken University Medical Center and Palisades Medical Center. That impacted about 214 patients. More than 100 healthcare facilities have reported that they lost power, but the majority, the overwhelming majority, are managing the issue and using their emergency generator power to take care of their patients. 22 ambulances did arrive from Indiana today to help us, and another 35 are being sent by Governor Corbett from Pennsylvania. I appreciate Governor Corbett's generosity in sending those over. And let me just say, I've received offers for more assistance from Governor Patrick in Massachusetts, Governor Bryant in Mississippi, Governor Walker in Wisconsin to send more assistance. We've gotten some great offers from folks, Governor Markell in Delaware. So people have been very generous. They understand that New Jersey got hit harder than anybody else. And as they have resolved some of their own needs, they're offering assistance to us, and we're coordinating that through the Office of Emergency Management here. And if they have assets that we can use and need, we're certainly going to take them up on it, as we did with Governor Corbett on the ambulance situation, so we don't want to be caught short there. Obviously, a couple other announcements. I'm closing state government offices again tomorrow. I want to give DOT one more day to clear the roads, and the local and county officials another day to clear the roads. I think it would be very difficult for most people to get to work. You guys have been traveling around. I'm sure you've noticed the difficulty, especially in some of the secondary roads. While we have our main highways clear, I think people would have a lot of trouble getting to our main highways even tomorrow. So for state workers, that plus the fact that we don't have power in all the state buildings. So, you know, I'm not going to bring some of the state workers back and not all of them. Hopefully by Thursday, we'll have power in all the state buildings. Roads will be much clearer and people can travel safely to work. We'll be working tomorrow here out of the Rock, but we'll close state offices once again tomorrow for the day. And I understand that a majority of New Jersey schools, if not a super majority of New Jersey schools, will be closed tomorrow as well. Had an opportunity to brief Senator Sweeney today, the Senate President, on the status of all of this that's going on. He reported good news from Gloucester County, and that has not been affected significantly there. And in that region of the state, he said is doing fairly well. I appreciate the Senator's time, and we had a good opportunity to talk today for the first time since the storm started. I also called the Speaker and left her a voicemail message, but we missed each other during the day today, didn't have an opportunity to speak. As you all know, I'll be with the President tomorrow. I'll let the White House handle all the different announcements about where and how and all the rest, but he'll get a good opportunity tomorrow to see firsthand some of the damage that I just talked to all of you about. And so I look forward to spending time with the President tomorrow and talking to him about the rebuilding of New Jersey, and Jersey Shore in particular. Lastly, before I take your questions, I want to thank all the folks you see standing up here. This has been a long siege already since Saturday. So thank you for your hard work. I appreciate it, and all the people that you represent. And to the people of New Jersey, hang in there. Tomorrow recovery begins. Today was a bit of a day of sorrow for a lot of people, and we need to feel that. It's appropriate to feel it. We need to feel it and take it in. There's nothing wrong with that. But as long as sorrow does not displace resilience, then we'll be just fine. And I don't believe it will displace resilience. It won't in this administration, and it certainly will not with the people that we represent. So we look forward to tomorrow, and we continue to, I think, hope to be able to bring you more good news tomorrow about power restoration across the state, about more cleared roads, and a greater chance of return to normalcy for the people of this state. Questions from anybody? Jenna?
Governor, do you know what you'll be doing with the Romney yet anymore?
beside the Jersey Shore focus?
I don't, Jen. As soon as I know, we'll certainly put it out to you guys, or the White House will. Juliet?
Can you talk a little bit about what kind of the additional fines you want to possibly have against utilities? If our legislation has been passed by now and the higher fines you propose in effect, what difference does that make, you think, right now, to good discussions with them? Would that put any pressure on them?
Listen, I don't know. I'm sure it would have put additional pressure on them, Juliet, because if you know that if you don't follow the regulations, it's going to cost you $100 a day, or if you know it's going to cost you $25,000 a day, that's a very different economic decision and economic calculus. Now, I want to emphasize that so far our communications with the utility companies have been very cooperative, and we believe they're putting real resources out there, as is evidenced by the fact that some of Newark is already up. Newark Airport is back. Parts of Elizabeth are back, so that's all very good. But there's no question that to rely upon an early 20th century statute that puts fines for failure of regulated companies like utilities to comply with those regulations and laws, a fine of $100 a day is antiquated. When I ordered the investigation into the response to Hurricane Irene, it was one of the things that the Commission came back with, the BPU, as one of the things they thought was necessary. And when I announced this report and these recommendations, and as you know, most of the recommendations we implemented by executive authority through regulatory work, and we needed a statute to fix this. I thought that would be very non-controversial, and given how many times both houses have met in the last 2 months, they've met a couple of times at least. They could have easily passed this one through. I can't imagine anybody on either side of the aisle would be opposed to significant fines for utilities who are keeping electric power away from the residents because they made an economic decision that it was cheaper to disregard the law and pay the fine than it would be to spend the money to do it. So, again, I'm really disappointed that this wasn't done. I have no understanding as to why it wasn't done, and I hope at some point it will be. But at this point, it's almost like closing the barn door after the cow already ran out, Matt?
Governor, has Governor Romney spoken to Governor Romney, and is he making any plans to come to New Jersey?
I have no idea whether he's making any plans to come to New Jersey. I had one conversation with Governor Romney. And the days are running into each other, Matt. I don't remember whether it was Saturday night or Sunday night when I spoke to Governor Romney, but he called me at home in Mendham, which makes me think it was Sunday night. Do you guys remember? Was it Sunday night? Yeah, my kids are here. Yeah, it was Sunday night. Thank you. It was Sunday night that I spoke to Governor Romney. He called around 10:30 Sunday night to check in with me, see how I was doing, see how things were going in New Jersey in anticipation of the storm, having already started to hit us. But I haven't spoken to the governor since then, and we had no discussions then, nor have we since that time about him making any visit here. John?
Governor, do you have any update on the timetable for the disaster declaration for the counties that haven't already had that status? And is there any real disadvantage for those like Bergen and Passaic that are still outside of that designation right now?
We're working with the federal government on that. I don't think there's any real disadvantage because this gets the ball rolling, and that's what you need more than anything else, is to get the ball rolling in these counties for individual assistance and others, and the broader governmental assistance. But we're working with it, and I'm sure we'll get the disaster declaration for the other counties that merit it. But I don't think there's any real disadvantage to those folks, no. Heather, yeah.
Can you talk about the individual power companies and then pull them through
It's hard to tell yet, Heather. Although I'm happy to hear JCP&L has 90% of their transmission system back up. That's certainly better performance than they gave in Irene. Now, PSE&G has significant challenges, the most outages, the most flooding, and so the fact that they've gotten Newark partially up, got Newark Airport back up, part of Elizabeth, I'm encouraged by that. But I think all 4 companies at this point getting incomplete for their grade. It's a little too early to make a judgment on that. But we live in hope, as I often say, so let's hope that they do well. Other questions for anybody tonight? Yeah, Heather, sure.
You talked a lot about some iconic amusement parks and features of the Jersey Shore, and those are really lost. And what's going to mean for the shore, and people know the shore going forward?
It's going to be difficult. Be difficult, disorienting for a lot of folks. There's You know, whether you talk, I was talking to Brian Williams about this tonight. You know, Brian is a New Jersey guy, and I grew up on the Jersey Shore. And you know, we've talked many times about our experience. That whether you're talking to people in Seattle, Washington, or in Kansas City, or Texas, there seems to be always people you run into who have some memory of the Jersey Shore, or have some experience at the Jersey Shore at some time in their lives, and they talk about the same type of, you know, iconic images from the Jersey Shore. And so, you know, it'll be disorienting for a lot of folks and disappointing to see a lot of those go away. You know, I hope many of them will be replaced. That'll be the decision in large measure of the private sector as to whether it's worthwhile to do it or not in the aftermath of this. But I believe that for the most part they will be replaced, but it won't be the same. And so there'll be a certain sense of loss that especially old folks like me will feel when I go back down there. I mean, I'm fully convinced it'll be rebuilt and that we'll get things ready for next summer. But the fact is it's going to take a lot of effort between now and then to get it there. And when we do get there, it'll be different. And you know, the older you get, the less you like different. You know, so there'll be a bit of a loss to that. But, you know, it'll give us an opportunity to create new memories for new generations. And that's the positive way to look at it. And I think that's ultimately the way the people in New Jersey will look at it. And the people who come to New Jersey to enjoy their vacations will look at it. But for older guys like me, you'll always have a little bit of a sense of what used to be. And part of, you've heard me say this before, part of at the town hall meetings, part of the attraction of New Jersey, I think, is that there's a certain pride the citizens have here about not only each other, but these places in our state. And they love the idea of, you know, walking on the boardwalk in Wildwood or Ocean City or Seaside Heights or Point Pleasant with their children the way their parents walked with them. And talking to them about those old stories of things they used to do. I bore my kids like once every 3 or 4 years, if we're at Seaside Heights, with walking them down Franklin Avenue in Seaside Heights and show them the house that me and my high school friends rented for the week after we graduated from high school. You know, and did the typical thing you do, like, you know, this little dumpy house with 12 guys, like, jammed into it, sleeping on top of each other. And, you know, those things may not be too entertaining for them, but they're really entertaining for us. And I don't know, I didn't get a chance to go down Franklin Avenue today and see if that house is still there or not. You know, it's those kind of things that will affect folks because they steal your memories a bit. And that's difficult to take at times. But on the other hand, you know, we have a job to do here. And our job is to say, okay, we've taken this hit. It's no fault of our own, but we've taken it. And now the question is, how are we going to react to it? I don't know. I know this state pretty well, I think. And I know the way the people of this state will react. And they'll say, hell with that. You know, we'll feel sad for a couple of days. But then to hell, let's go. Let's get back to work. And let's rebuild this stuff, and let's stop feeling sorry for ourselves. So there'll be a period of time when people are going to feel badly about this and going to feel down, and that's natural. But now it's time, you know, in the next couple of days to get through that and to say, oh, we're going to build this back, and we're going to make the state even better than it was before. The optimism will take over again, but, you know, the clouds still haven't completely parted. So it's tough to see the sun for some folks at the moment. But part of my job is to make sure that they see the sun. That's part of my job, and I'm going to tend to do it. Jenna? Oof. No. We'll be talking about numbers with a B, for sure. But but what the number will be, I don't know, and I don't want to try to guess it. But there's no question in my mind that the losses will enter the billions. But how much, I'm not really sure. Matt, you have something?
Same question, although on top of that, any idea how this affects your budget? Have you begun thinking about that?
You know, because of the disaster declaration, Matt, I don't think it's going to affect it all that much. Most of this stuff is going to be covered by federal funding and private insurance money. So I don't think you're going to see a drastic effect on the state budget. I asked Lou Getting about that the other day, I guess it was on Sunday, and his view was, and I don't think there's anybody who knows more about the state budget than Lou, Lou's view was he did not think this was going to have a drastic effect on the state budget at all because of the anticipation that FEMA would be stepping up as they have through the President's major disaster declaration, and because of private insurance money that'll be available for a lot of those folks as well. So, I think we'll be okay from a budgetary perspective. But listen, if it turns out that there are monies that need to be incurred, I'm going to incur them, and we'll make budget cuts elsewhere to be able to pay for them. John.
Do you anticipate touring any other areas tomorrow outside of visits?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to Sayreville tomorrow.
Any plans to go into North Jersey, stuff on the White House announcement?
I have no plans to be in what you would call North Jersey tomorrow. When I go to Sayreville, Steve Sweeney says I'm in North Jersey. So with all bows to Steve, who I know is watching because he doesn't like to miss one of my events, Steve would call Sayreville North Jersey. But I know you, Reitmeyer, from the Bergen Record, consider Sayreville South Jersey. So I don't have any plans to be tomorrow in what Reitmeyer would consider North Jersey. But hopefully the day after I will be. Michael? Well, I understand that, but you see, everyone's perspective is different, Michael. I mean, you and I are traditionalists, as we've pointed out to each other many times. We're traditionalists, so we both know that Sayreville is in Central Jersey. But if you ask Senator Sweeney where Sayreville is, he ain't going to say Central Jersey. He's going to say North Jersey. And Reitmeyer, too. He thinks it's South Jersey, for God's sake. I'll be going there tomorrow morning. Yes, I'll be going there before I meet up with the President. I'll be going to Sayreville tomorrow morning to check out the flooding damage that was done by the tidal flood at the Raritan Bay. And then I'm sure I'll make my way up to Bergen County, Passaic County, probably on Thursday. Right? Tomorrow's Wednesday? Yes, Thursday. I'm sure I'll make my way up there. Yeah.
Governor, one of the voices we haven't heard much from, and for good reason, is the emergency responders that have been on the ground, and obviously for the state, that's the state police. Can you talk about some of the efforts that you've heard about, some of the anecdotes in terms of the rescue that they've been involved in?
Well, it's just they've been extraordinary, as they always are. I mean, you have the state police swift boat teams that have been out there in Atlantic City and up in Moonachie and in Newark and Jersey City last night, who have been rescuing people from awful situations. The great thing about the guys who actually and women who actually do this work is they don't talk much about it. I hear about it from Colonel Fuentes, and he's proud of the men and women who he commands, and he will pass on that information when we're having our briefings upstairs. But the state police, in my experience now, is 3 years of being the governor, have not been folks who brag on themselves a whole lot to me. They just do their jobs. And so there have been some really heroic actions taken in Moonachie and in Little Ferry and in Atlantic City, not only by the state police swift boat teams, but by some of their federal partners who have come and joined with them as well. And lots of first responders on the local level as well. I told you about that, team that's in volunteer team in Belmar, who's doing so much of the work down there to try to rescue people on their own, which is extraordinary. So there's a lot of great stories that will come out in the days ahead, I'm sure, Chris. And if you folks dig hard enough, you'll find them. Go down to Belmar. Those guys love to talk. They would have talked to me all day if I could have stayed. Believe me, they had all kinds of stories they wanted to tell me. So anybody from the press goes down there, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to talk to you guys too. Other questions for me? Matt? Yeah.
Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween. I'm going to have an announcement tomorrow on Halloween, Matt, and it's going to be just for you. The staff has prepared an executive order. Halloween's not going to happen tomorrow in New Jersey, unfortunately. It's just not safe enough for kids to go around, but I don't want kids to be disappointed. And so tomorrow we will reset Halloween by executive order and urge all towns to comply with the resetting of Halloween on that date. But I don't want to preview it for you any more than that, Matt, because I know you're excited about it. And we'll once again prove what you and I both know, Matt. My power knows no bounds. No bounds at all. Heather? If there's something about my power having no bounds, I'd appreciate that kind of question. But if you've got something else, I'm happy to take it.
Restore the power in your own home.
No. No, I'm powerless in that regard. No, my understanding is that power is still off in Mendham, according to the state police who are up there at the House. And from the tone of Mrs. Christie's voice when I spoke to her earlier, it appears that power is still out of Drumthwacket. So yeah, no, we don't have we don't have power in either place. So we'll be going back to Drumthwacket. We have some generators there, but it only powers part of the house, so you have to pick and choose. Any other questions for anybody? And I will be, since you all seem to ask me at one point or another where I'm sleeping, I'll be sleeping at Drumthwacket tonight, and be back here tomorrow morning to meet with the cabinet at about 9 o'clock, and then off to Sayreville thereafter to visit in Sayreville. I probably will not do a briefing with all of you as such until after my trip with the President. I think it's probably the best time for me to do it, rather than try to do something before. Now, if we have some really important information to pass on to you in the morning, we'll certainly do that by release to all of you. But I think my first briefing will be after the President leaves tomorrow. And my understanding is that the President's going to have pool coverage of that event when he and I are together. So we'll send out an advisory tomorrow as to when I'll be briefing all of you. But just for your own planning purposes, it'll be after the trip with the President tomorrow. But we will be going up to Sayreville in the morning to survey around and see how that looks up there. I've had our staff's been in touch with Mayor O'Brien in Sayreville, and we've offered whatever assistance he needs, and State Police and the National Guard have been helpful in that regard. And so we'll see what it looks like up in Sayreville tomorrow morning. I'm anxious to see it. Any other questions? All right, let's all try to get some sleep tonight. Thank you all very much.
Governor Christie very nostalgic tonight about the Jersey Shore, saying we will rebuild it, but it will not look the same. Currently, 2.6 million people in New Jersey still without power, 6 deaths reported due to Hurricane Sandy. And tomorrow, we wait for President Obama's arrival.
Yeah, the governor gave us a lot of facts and figures, but mostly this would be marked by him saying things like, I never thought I would see what I saw today ever. The governor clearly shaken, incredulous, overwhelmed at what he saw, saying the Jersey Shore won't be the same. The Jersey Shore, for a self-described Jersey guy, a place where he grew up and spent so much time as a kid and with his family. He toured it today, hugged people, exchanged some tears as well. It was tough, very, very tough, seeing boardwalks gone, landmarks gone, things that the shore is known for just obliterated. Really emotional walk down there. They're going to rebuild, they're going to come back strong, but it really won't be the same, as they said. Again, President Obama will be in tomorrow, promising aid to build the shore and do whatever he can, and we'll have to see how that shakes out. But it hurts, and he felt it, and he conveyed it pretty well tonight.
And the damage is staying there, not just by